I remember in school we had to learn some poems, and I can still know a line or two of them, but as far as knowing all of them, I don't. But I can usually recite all of them that I have ever written.
So do you have a favorite poem?
Well, no, I don't know that I've got any favorite.
They're all like your children. Huh?
Yes.
You don't want to pick a favorite.
I don't want to pick a favorite.
So which one do you want to start with?
Well, it doesn't matter. I'll start with that one about my brothers and sisters. My sibs and I went back one day to the place where we were born, where we used to romp and play, and the fields were green with corn. But it was not the same, you see, the house and barn no longer there, and all of the surroundings were in need of loving care. We traipsed around and tried to find that certain big oak tree where Dad had carved his name so long ago for all to see. But we had no luck in finding it, for nothing was the same. Briars, weeds, and tall grass was all that did remain. We sat around the place where once the house had stood. First one would tell of a memory, and then another would. We did not remember things the same, for it has been so long since we had lived together in this place that we called home. We have no plans to go back again, for it was somewhat sad, for two had already gone to live with Mom and Dad. The second one is a silly one, and the title to it is The Good Old Days. I've heard people talk about the good old days, but to me, they weren't good in several different ways. I've hoed in the garden in the heat of the sun, and I milked the cows after the hoeing was done. I've pumped the well for our water supply, and a run of a day, you use quite a lot. And I carried the water to wash our clothes, and I hung them on the line until my fingers froze. I heated the iron on top of the range, and when one got cold, to another I'd change. I've slept in a room without any heat, wearing heavy socks on both of my feet. And I've got my hat and coat and put my overshoes on when the urge hit me to go out to the John. Now really, folks, I'm somewhat amazed that you would call these the good old days.
How do you go about writing poetry? And
well, you know, every once in a while something just comes to me, and I sit down and write it down, and then I kind of go ahead and try to find something to go with it.
What about a poem structure? Where did you learn how to rhyme and rhythm?
I don't know. It's just there.
And you said you started writing poems in the 50s. Do you remember what that first inspiration was?
I think the first one I wrote was about Mom. When she lived out there with Joe and I. And I think that was when I started.
And what was that poem about?
Well, as I grow older, more clearly I see just how precious my mother is to me. My father was good, to me he is grand, but oh how I depend on Mom's helping hand. When we were young, we didn't have a car, yet she took us to church, though it was quite far. She didn't use the excuse that we use today. I can't go to church, I don't have a way. What a job it must have been to get us all dressed, for 9 was the number with which she was dressed. With our faces all washed up, shiny and bright, we'd all go to church both morning and night. Now she is feeble, her walk is unsure, and I find each day that I still need her more. So we should all take the time, dear sisters and brothers, to thank our dear Lord for our dear mothers.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
I am the Poet Laureate of the Fleurs-de-lis Club. It's a literary club.
Uh-huh.
I recite a poem every month for them. This is what the Fleurs-de-lis sent me when I broke my hip. It said, Georgie Porgy, puddin' and pie, broke her hip and made us cry. But her wings are still intact, so she is able to fly back to Mitchell, where she is sorely missed, so much that we have sent you this list, and it's a list of all of them have written something on it. It's got their picture on the front of it. I enjoy this little club. I remember it back years ago. I thought it was the elite of the town, and it was. And I don't know how I got in it. This year, our topic was poems. And we had so much fun the month that it was limericks. Everybody had to, when they answered the roll call, they were supposed to give a limerick. And that was real fun.
So you have another poem you want to share?
Well, it's entitled Peace and Contentment. Do you know the joy of contentment as you go through life each day? It will be with you when you're busy and also when you stop to pray. Although you cannot see it nor hold its gentle hand, it will be ever near you if you only understand that all those earthly things you see and long for each day will soon lose their glitter and quickly fade away. God cares for the birds and the fishes of the sea, and He promises to do much more for you and me. So as we walk down that road of life, be prayerful in all you do, and soon peace and contentment are walking there with you.
And what was the inspiration for that poem?
Well, I think it was something that was said at one of the meetings. And I'm just pretty content in life to live in this old house. I said some people talk about when they get to heaven they want a mansion, but I'll be content with just an old house like I've got. And I don't know, I don't long for many things. So it was, I think it was something that was said at one of the club meetings that made me want to write that.